Good day to you, board gamers, and welcome to the inaugural episode of a new series, BGB, Board Game Builds, a series where we go through the ins, outs, and strategies of board games. I'll be your host, the Black Viking. Now, fill your bloodshot eyes with rage as we delve into our first board game, Blood Rage. Now, at first glance, Blood Rage may sound like a disorder of the circulatory system, but I assure you, it is not. Short version? Blood Rage is a miniatures board game drawing heavily from the Norse mythos. It is a game of fantasy, small and large-scale battles, resource and real estate control, and personal resource management. But let's get down to the nuts and bolts of the game, and where better to start than the game's conception and creation. Blood Rage is a board game created by Eric M. Lang, with art and designs from Adrian Smith, Henning Ludvigsen, and Mike McVeigh. Conceived and inspired from Lang's 2007 design called Midgard, the game saw its launch and debut on Kickstarter in March of 2015, raising almost $1 million due to the efforts of roughly 10,000 backers. Blood Rage was published by CMON Limited and saw its retail release in November of that year. Blood Rage draws its fantasy components from Norse mythology, showcasing characters of the likes of Thor, god of thunder and wielder of the Mjolnir, Loki, god of trickery, Ymir, father to all Jotnar, Heimdall and his all-seeing eyes, and even the Allfather himself, Odin. Fantastical battles take place between monster, man, and the gods, all leading to the inevitable Ragnarok, Norse doomsday, and death in the glory of Valhalla. Alright folks, so now we're going to get into the setup of Blood Rage. So the first thing you'll see here is the main stage of Blood Rage, which is the map, which all battles and most interactions will take place in this area. Next, we have the clan cards. So we have the Wolf Clan here, and we have the Bear Clan here. And this is where most of your other actions will take place, like when you do like upgrades, and it gives a lot of helpful hints in terms of taking your turns and actions. And then here we have the special characters, which are the monsters. And then up here we have the main, where this is going to explain a lot of the game here and how you take certain steps in each of the ages. So first, let's go over the clan cards. So how we set up the clan cards. So here on the Wolf Clan, you'll see a couple of things. So you'll see the leader here. You'll see the typical warriors here. And then over here we have a boat. And then this is going to be your general clan stats track right here. And then above that you see the rage track. So when you start off a game, see you have the 4 tokens. So 3 of the tokens will go in the first 3 slots for the clan stats. And then the other token, which works in tandem with the rage token here. So see this little number 6. So your token here will always start on the 6 at the beginning of a game. And how that functions is that it's called rage. And rage is is your kind of like your currency or your resource of how you take actions within the game. And then above you have all of your units here, and as the game goes on, those units will be placed on the board and do certain actions, and if they perish, they'll end up in Valhalla. Now, let's go to the game board itself. So the game board has many different areas with villages and provinces and regions. Now, how that works is that at the beginning of the game, typically you will shuffle these cards here, or these little circles here, and then based upon what comes up, you'll choose one of the provinces to already be a doomed province, which means no one can enter that province and nothing takes place there. Secondly, you'll place these little tokens here, and you'll randomize them and place them face down in each of the remaining provinces. And then as the game starts, you'll flip them over, and then these little tokens will denote the resource that you can gain from pillaging that area. Now there are three types of pillage, or four types actually of pillage tokens. There are the red ones here, which denote gaining a stat in rage. We have the blue ones here, which are axes, which denote getting a stat in your glory gained from battles. And then we have the gray one here, which denotes horns. And gaining the pillage reward for that means that you're able to have more map presence, so you can put more of your units on the board. And then we have the ones with the number in the middle, within the blue diamond, and that's just you straight up get, when you pillage that and you're successful, you increase your spot on the glory track by 5. And then we have one more special one, which is only in Yggdrasil, and that gives you all three. So Yggdrasil is a kind of a hot commodity, but we'll get to that later in this video. So if you're able to successfully pillage Yggdrasil, you will gain a bonus, and you can increase all of your clan stats by 1, and that's like crazy within the confines of this game. Is definitely a highly sought after pillage reward. Another thing is, on the outside of the game board we have the glory track, and that's how you track your progress in terms of winning the game. And the ultimate goal of the game is by the end to have the most glory out of your all of yourself and your opponents. So as we said before, if you were able to successfully pillage the glory reward from Muspelheim, then you would instantly increase your glory reward on, or your spaces on the glory track. One really unique aspect of Blood Rage is the miniatures, and there are actually quite a few types. So first, as we see here, we have what's known as the leader. Then beside him we have our general warriors, we have boats, and we have our monsters. And then there are also two other units that we'll discuss in a later video, and those are mystics and the gods. Let's look at the setup in terms of determining how the main portion of the game works. So here you'll see that we have 3 ages, so that means that there are kind of like 3 rounds in the game, and then at the end, in the third age here, after you reach Ragnarok and then get to releasing from Valhalla, then the game's over, and then you go into the end game. So let's just take a look at the first age here. So we have our cards, which we'll get into like momentarily, and then we have our kind of like our phases. So first we have to choose which, at the end of every age, another one of the provinces is going to be destroyed by Ragnarok. So how we choose that is similar to how we chose the first province over here at the beginning of the game, just to be like instantly destroyed and can no longer be used. Here, what we do is, once again, we randomize those kind of circular tokens there, and from that we will choose our 3 provinces that will be destroyed. So at the end of the first age, Angrboda will be destroyed. In this case, at the end of second age, Utgard will be destroyed, and at the end of the third age, Anlang will be destroyed. And the general process of a full round meaning from the beginning, from when you divvy out the cards here that we'll explain in a moment, and getting to the end, which is Ragnarok, and then the release from Valhalla. So you divvy up the cards, and then we go in turn, and we take our actions, and then at the end of that we would discard down to 1 card. Then we would resolve the quests. Then we would resolve Ragnarok, and then we would do the release from Valhalla. So now we're going to get into how the game actually plays out and how everything kind of strings together. So let's go through some helpful hints that you may find or for specifically for beginners, that you'll find on your clan card. So first of all, there's a very good explanation of what each of your clan stats means. So rage is the rage that you'll start at the beginning of each round, which means the more rage you have, the more actions you'll be able to take in future ages. We have axes, which directly correlates to the glory you win in battle. And what that means is when you win a battle, for each enemy figure that you destroy, you'll gain glory for each of those figures. So right now, if you were to win a battle, and let's say your opponent had 3 figures that you destroyed, you would gain 3 for each of that figure, so that means that you would go up a total of 9 points on the glory track. And horns, which was the little gray Viking helmet, that means the limit of figures you're allowed to have on the map. So currently at the beginning of the game, everybody is allowed to have 4 figures on the board, which is why it's so important to kind of, you need to pick and choose which stats you want to go after first. So if you want to be able to do more things, go for rage first. If you want to be someone that wants to win a lot of glory in battle, then go for the axes first. And you want to be someone that has a lot of map presence, you go for the horns first. Now, at the very bottom of your clan sheet, you kind of have things that you can do during your turn, and it tells you the cost. So invade, the rage cost for invading, which means placing a figure on the board, is equal to strength. So, for example, most people's warriors are, you see that little red 1 in the top left hand corner there, are all worth 1 strength. So if to invade or place a figure on a warrior on the board, rage cost equals strength. So if you were to place one of your warriors on the board, and let's say I'm going to invade in Analang, so I would place my figure in one of the little circles here, which is one of the villages, which means I now occupy that village, and I would lower my rage counter down by 1. So now I can make 5 more actions before I'm not able to do anything else or take any actions. Now, moving on to the next one, we have marching, which means taking all of your units from, or some of your units from one province to another province. So if I want to move my character or my figure from Anlang to, for example, Utgard, so I would pay 1 rage, and I would move my figure from Anlang and move him to a province or a village in Utgard. Now we have upgrading, and now that's when you gain like your clan upgrade cards and things like that, and getting like monsters. So when you play those cards, they will all have that little red number by them, and then, for example, if you play a card that it costs 2 rage, then you would take your rage marker here and put it down by 2, and then you'll be able to play that card. Then one of the other things you can do is you can play quest cards, and playing quest cards are free, and we'll get into what quest cards do a little later on in the video. And the last thing at the bottom is pillage, and that's how you gain the rewards of the specific provinces, and pillaging is also free. So throughout the course of Blood Rage, we have 3 rounds, or what are known as ages. So there are 2 ways that an age can end. Now, the first way is that if once every player has exhausted all of their rage, regardless of whether everything has been pillaged on the game board or not, the age will end. Now, the second way is when we look at the game board, when something is pillaged, the pillage token is turned over to denote that that province has been pillaged and no more rewards can be reaped from that area. But once every single token or resource has been pillaged, that is the other way that denotes the end of an age. And then we move on to discarding down to one card, then we move on to resolving quests, then we move on to resolving Ragnarok, and then release from Valhalla, and then the second age will start with the recruitment phase, which is the divvying up and choosing of the cards.
Alright, so now that we've gone through the general setup of the game, let's get into how the game actually progresses. So first thing that we do is that we take the Age 1 cards, and we split them, and for the sake of explanation, we're going to assume that we're playing with 4 players. So first what we do is we split them into 4 piles of 8, and each of the 4 players will get one of these piles. So what you'll do is that, so let's say that I'm one of these players. So I will take, so let's say this is the deck that I get first. I'll take 1 card from this deck, and it will come into my hand. And then I will pass the deck to the player to my left, and then they will take a card, but I will also be receiving a deck from the player from my right. So let's say it's this deck, so then I will now take a card from this deck, and then I will keep the decks will keep going around, and we'll keep taking cards. And then now I'm just taking cards from the top, but you can take cards from obviously anywhere in the deck. It's not random. Everybody will at some point see all of the cards. So we keep doing this until we have 6 cards in our hand, like so. And then what will happen is that any remaining cards will be sent back and they'll be discarded. So now these will be the cards that you will use for the remainder of this age. And actually I got well, at least to me, I feel like I got a pretty good hand. So now let's go over some what we can do during your turn.
So turn order is generally decided randomly, typically by the roll of a die. Whoever rolls the highest will start first, and then it will work in a will work in a clockwise fashion in terms of turn order. So if I end up starting first, the person to my left will be second, and so on and so forth, and it will continue in that circle. Now, you may be asking yourself, well, Black Viking, what can I do on my turn? So there's actually a couple of things that you can do on your turn that we'll go over now. And a lot of your actions are going to be based on the cards that you have in your hand. So these are the cards I currently have in my hand right now. And you may be seeing quite a few different cards here. So I have a few clan upgrades. I was able to pull a monster. I have 2 battle cards, and I have 1 quest card. So there are actions that cost rage, and there are actions that are free, and a lot of those are listed as helpful hints at the bottom of your clan sheet. So what I'm going to do first is I think that I'm going to play a quest. So how quest cards work. So this quest card that I have in my hand is called Mannheim, and it's to complete the quest, I need to have the most strength in at least 1 Mannheim or yellow province. So as we see on the game board here, Mannheim is this cluster of 3 provinces here, denoted by the yellow borders. Now, one of the best ways to make sure you have the most strength in a province, given that quests only resolve at the towards the end of an age is to have your province be full, which means no one can contest your strength in that province. You occupy all possible places in that province. So right now, all of my warriors are worth 1 strength, so I have 3 strength in that province. But because no one can come into that province, that means I'm guaranteed at the end of this age to have at least 1 Mannheim province with them and having the most strength in that province. Another action I can take on my turn is to invade. So I wish to invade Angry Boda. So I'm going to pay 1 rage, and I am going to place one of my units in one of the villages in Angry Boda. Now, following from an invasion, when it comes down back around to my turn again, because you're going to take 1 action per turn, I wish to pillage Angry Boda. So I'm not seeing any enemies to the adjacent provinces, so that means I get to pillage this area for free, and I gain the horn resource, and now I can go here and I can increase my horn stat by 1, which means now instead of only being able to have 4 units on the board, I'm able to have 5 units on the board at a time. Now, as I was kind of explaining before in terms of the pillaging, because there was no one else around, I was able to get that pillage reward for free without anybody contesting me. However, in the case that you have an enemy in either in your province or in an adjacent province, that is when a battle will ensue. So, for example, if I had a rival clan, let's say the Wolf Clan in Elfgard, and I'm in Angry Boda, when I choose to pillage, they have the option of contesting. And what contesting means is that they are able to come into the province I'm in, and they can contest my right to pillage this province. So when this situation arises, this is when a battle will occur. So how battles work? So in battle, you will total up your strength in the province, and your opponent will total their strength in the province, and then you also have the option of playing battle cards, which are the 2 red cards here on either side of the quest card. So if I'm trying to win that pillage reward, and let's say it's something that's important to me that I want, I'm going to try and have the most strength overall. And the most strength overall is the strength in the province plus the strength on your battle card. In this case, my battle card has a strength of 4.
So how battles work? So in a battle, 2 things happen. 1, you total up the total strength you have, which is a sum of the strength of all your units in a province, and then each player is allowed to play a battle card. So in this case, I'm the Bear Clan, and the other one is the Wolf Clan, so Bear is brown, Wolf is red. So I'll play my battle card face down, and they'll play their battle card face down. And then we reveal our battle cards, and then the winner is determined based upon the sum of the total strength of all their units plus their battle card against the sum of the total strength of all the opponent's units and their battle cards. So in this case, I've played a +4 battle card, and my opponent has played a +2 battle card. So right now, I have 1 strength for my 1 warrior in the province, +4, which is a total of 5 strength, and my opponent has 1 strength from the warrior he has in the province, and a +2 battle card. So in this case, I would win, and I am able to take this pillage reward. But a side effect of battle is that I've now defeated the opponent, which means that his character has been defeated, and his character will be sent to Valhalla. I also gain glory equal to the value of glory on my clan card, which right now is 3. So I'm able to put my token on the glory track up by 3 points because I destroyed one of my opponent's warriors. Now there are some interesting situations that can sometimes arise during battle. And here is one such example. So right now, the Bear and Wolf clan have exactly the same strength in a province. The Bear clan has a strength of 2, and the Wolf clan has a strength of 2. So let's say the Wolf clan wants to pillage, and the Bear clan is clearly going to contest. So the two individuals play their battle cards, and then they reveal them. So the Wolf clan has played a battle card worth 2, and the Bear clan has played a battle card worth 2. So in this case, they each have a strength of 4 in the province. In the case of ties, which do from time to time happen, everyone is destroyed. So it's just a full-on battle, knife and axe go head-to-head clang, heads are being cleaved everywhere, blood splatter everywhere, and everyone is destroyed. So in this case, no one gets the pillage reward, but everybody is sent to Valhalla. Typically, in the case of a tie, all units that are involved in the battle are destroyed. And of course, given some cases, depending on how many players you could have 2-way, 3-way, 4-way, or even 5-way ties. However, there are also some ways that you can avoid, escape, and cheat death, which we will definitely be going over in a future episode. So we've gone over the red battle cards, we've gone over the green quest cards, now let's go over the black upgrade cards. So there are many different types of upgrades, and there are 5 that you see in front of you here. There is Frigga's Charm, which is a clan upgrade. There's the Troll, which is a monster upgrade, which is this little guy here. There is an upgrade for your ships, there's an upgrade for your leader, and there's an upgrade for your warriors. So let's say on my turn, I want to play a clan upgrade. So I'm going to play Frigga's Charm. Now Frigga's Charm, as you see in the corner, has a 0, which means it costs no rage for me to play. So I play this on my clan sheet, and I get its effect, which says any upgrade cards that I play now cost 1 less rage. So for example, in the future, if I were to let's say I want to use Loki's Dragons. Loki's Dragons would typically cost me 2 rage to play, but because I already have Frigga's Charm in effect, which lowers the cost of all upgrade cards, I now only have to pay 1 rage to use this card. So upgrade cards definitely change the flow of the game and have their benefits. Now the last action I can take on my turn is if I want to move from one province to another, which is known as marching. So let's say I happen to have 3 of my warriors in Angerboda, and I want to march into Elfgard. So I can pay 1 rage, and I can take any number of my units. I can take 1, 2, or 3 and move them into Elfgard. So I'm only going to move 2, and I'll place my units in Elfgard here. That is one action I can take. However, when you march, it can be to any province. It does not have to necessarily be a province that is adjacent to the one that you are coming from. Now, for example, if I want to march units into Merklor, I have to choose between my one unit in Angerboda or my one unit in Elfgar. I cannot take all of these units from two separate provinces and move them to one. When you march, it has to be from one province to another single province. You cannot you cannot have split units and move them all into one province. Helpful tip: the only way to get into Yggdrasil is through marching. You cannot invade into Yggdrasil. Now, one action you can take that I forgot to mention is you can pass your turn. However, to pass your turn, you have to sacrifice all of your rage, so you go down to 0, and that means you can no longer take any more actions for the age. Now, I believe this was implemented into the game, so for example, you couldn't just pass your turn and then wait for an opportune moment to use your resources and rage, whereas everyone else that you're playing against, if they're not passing their turns, they're using their like resources to take their actions. So if you pass, all your rage is taken, and then you are out for the remainder of that age. So one of the highly sought after areas in Blood Rage is the center province known as Yggdrasil. What's so special about Yggdrasil, you may ask? Well, if you're able to successfully pillage Yggdrasil, you'll be able to increase all of your clan stats by 1, which is a major boon in a game such as this. So let's go over how that actually happens. So as I have explained previously, you cannot directly invade Yggdrasil like you can invade all the other provinces. And as you'll notice, most of the other provinces have specific little areas, or like the circles, which are known as villages, which you can directly invade onto and occupy. What you'll also notice is that Yggdrasil has none of those areas, meaning that there is no cap to the number of units you can have in Yggdrasil at one time. And this is where everything that you've learned throughout the game comes to fruition in terms of pillaging, in terms of contesting, and in terms of battles. So let's go through a potential scenario that could happen. So for example's sake, I've added 2 other clans to explain some other things that can happen. So let's say I have my two Bear Clan warriors in Elfgar, and I say I'm going to march into Yggdrasil. So I pay my 1 rage, and I march my 2 units into Yggdrasil, and that is my turn done. So now everyone's going to be on alert, because they know that the next turn I am going to most likely try to pillage Yggdrasil. However, this is where a little bit of strategy comes into play, because some people may get scared and they'll march into Yggdrasil, but they have to pay a rage to do that. When you contest and move your units into other provinces, you don't have to pay any rage to do that. So there's where kind of like a strategic element comes into play. So the turn order goes around, everyone makes their actions, comes back around to my turn. I'm going to try to pillage Yggdrasil. Immediately the trigger goes off. So it would next go to the player to my left. Would you like to contest this pillage action? So let's say the player to my left is the Wolf Clan, and they say yes. So they are allowed to move their units from one of their provinces into Yggdrasil. So let's say the Wolf Clan wants to move their unit from Merklor in. So they're going to move theirs in. Now let's say that the next, and this is how it works in terms of when people want to contest. Whereas you're limited in a typical province that when you go around the table and you ask people if they wish to contest, once all of the villages are full, no one else can join the battle. Whereas in Yggdrasil, you can continue to put as many units as you want that you have on the board into Yggdrasil because there's no limit due to a limitation on the number of spots, which are the villages. So let's say it goes to the next clan. They say yes, they'll move their unit into Yggdrasil. The next clan says yes as well, they'll move their unit into Yggdrasil. But then it now comes back to me. I still have a unit that's outside of Yggdrasil in Angerboda. I definitely want to have the highest chance of winning Yggdrasil, so I'm going to move my remaining unit into Yggdrasil. The Wolf Clan also has another unit they can move into Yggdrasil, and I'm sure they want to stop me from moving into Yggdrasil, so they're going to move their last unit into Yggdrasil as well. Since there are no more units on the board, everyone's in. Everyone has had their chance to put units in to contest my pillage action on the Yggdrasil, and now the battle will ensue. So right now, the Wolf Clan has 3 strength in Yggdrasil. The Bear Clan has 3 strength in Yggdrasil. The Wolf Clan, which are the red, have 2 strength, and then the other 2 clans each have 1 strength. So now we play our battle cards, and then we would see who would win. If I win, I gain that pillage reward. I get to increase each of my clan stats by 1. If I lose, my pillage attempt is stopped. However, the only time a pillage reward can be gained is by the clan that is doing the pillaging. If another clan stops a pillage action, they do not gain the pillage reward, as you can only gain the pillage reward when you are the clan doing the pillaging. Earlier in the video, we talked about the provinces that become doomed and provinces that face Ragnarok at the end of every age. So what we had decided through random chance was that after the first age was over, Angerboda would be the doomed province and the province that would be destroyed by Ragnarok. So how does Ragnarok take place? So at the end of an age, either by all of the pillage rewards being taken, or by every player in the game having exhausted all of their resource known as rage, we would then go into the end period process for each age. So how that works is that before Ragnarok takes place, everyone will discard their hands down to 1 card, and then everyone would resolve all of their quests. So for example, I had a quest to have the most strength in a Mannheim or Yellow Province, which I do. I currently have 3 strength in Angerboda, so I would end up completing that quest. And when you complete a quest, you gain the glory reward that would be listed on that card. Then next, we would go into Ragnarok. So for Ragnarok, all units in that province would be destroyed and sent to Valhalla. So I have 3 units in that province, so they would all go to Valhalla. And then this province would now be destroyed, which means that in the next age, no one will be able to go into that province, and that province has now become defunct. Now, if we go over to our little track here, we have that our next province that will be doomed in Ragnarok is going to be Utgard. And Utgard is a Jotunheim province, so the next province that will be doomed at the end of the second age is going to be Utgard. We place this little doomed province marker here for that. Now, now that we've resolved Ragnarok, we get to gain the the glory for dying in Ragnarok. And how that's determined is that this little blue symbol here denotes that you gain 2 glory for each of your units that dies in Ragnarok. So I sent 3 of my Wolf Clan warriors to Valhalla due to the destruction through Ragnarok, which means that I get 2 glory for each of them, so I would get 6 glory total at the resolution of Ragnarok. After Ragnarok is the release from Valhalla phase. So at the end of every age, all the units that are in Valhalla are sent back into your unit stock, so that at the beginning of the new age, you have your full stock to work from for placing your units on the board. So now we've reached the end of the game. We've gone through all the processes, and then we've resolved the Ragnarok for the 3rd age, and we've done the release from Valhalla. So what happens next? So now, at the end of the 3rd age, now we go to our clan sheets for the end game bonuses. So throughout the entire game of Blood Rage, you'll be collecting pillage-like rewards, which will end doing other things to increase your clan stats. So at the end of the game, as you'll see here, your clan stats will be at certain spots on your board. So for example, when how I played in this case for the Bear Clan, I sought out a lot of rage, and maybe didn't invest so much in having a lot of units on the board, but I happened to be in the middle of the road in terms of collecting axes. So as you'll see here, once you reach certain areas on the track, at the end of the game, you actually gain bonus glory depending on where your tokens sit in this area. So for example, I went all in on Rage, and I was able to reach the end of the track. So I'm going to gain plus 20 glory for reaching the space in Rage. Now the next 2 beyond that, I'll gain a plus 10 glory because I was in the area for that on my Axis track. Unfortunately, I didn't focus so much on having Mappa presence and collecting horns, so I don't get any bonuses for that. But I gain a total of 30 glory on the glory track because I happen to have my 2 clan stats here in those 2 areas, and that's really important at the end of a game to potentially get that bonus. So if you're focusing a lot on your clan stats, you can end up having 60 plus glory at the end of the game, which could be the difference between you coming first, and it could even be the difference between you coming last. And that, my fellow board gamers, is Blood Rage, a fantastical game of fantastical proportions. If you'd like to get your hands on your own copy, they are readily available online on sites such as Board Game Geek, Amazon, and eBay. Unfortunately, some of them range from $70 to even $300. Locally, Giant Robot Comics or the Boardroom Cafe are great places to pick it up or order it in. And in your area, your local nerd shops. Blood Rage also has several expansions, which will be covered in later episodes, but here's a sneak preview. The Gods of Asgard, a 5th player expansion featuring the proud Ram Clan, Mystics, and even a Kickstarter exclusive box, which includes quite a few terrifying and new monsters with killer abilities. Thank you so much for watching, and I hope that you have enjoyed what Blood Rage has to offer so far. Tune in next week when we begin our exposition into the units of the game. In Episode 2, Inhabitants of the Nine Realms. I've been your host, the Black Viking, and wherever you are, have a good morning, afternoon, and night.